But now it's time for the Sheriff Sit Down, brought to you weekly at this time by our Community Credit Union. Sheriff Salisbury on the air. Morning, sir.
Morning.
How are you?
Good.
Coming in, and Vicki was reporting in on some of the poundages picked up by the litter crew. Talk to me about this program.
Wow, that was, if you followed it a while back, that was quite a difficult circumstance that we went through with the commission on that. We had the program in place. They removed it for a while. We were anticipating some moves, and it actually didn't happen for a while. And I want to credit Chief Teresa Eric. She went out and worked and when they got that grant for the county to get us move forward on that and the equipment to do that. And Under Sheriff Barrett made some decisions to move some people around. So our folks actually supervising that used to be staff in the jail in our kitchen. And then we moved that into another piece that we were trying to explain early on and made it happen was our jail chief took and moved those two people from got a new contract, which is a better deal for the county, and we were able to move Brian and John over to supervise that litter crew. And
nice.
Just during that short time when they weren't out there, it was very noticeable how much garbage, and you don't think that, and then you start talking about those numbers. Sometimes they're sometimes 1,000 pounds a week, pretty easily they were picking up.
Wow.
And who are the folks that are out there picking up the litter?
Oh, there are. I'm sorry. Yes, that's important too. There are trustees from the jail, and so rather than those are the people that are nonviolent offenders that can be out, and I think they actually. I've been out on the crew with them before, and I think they take a great deal of pride in what they do. And aside from that, we recycle a lot of that stuff. I can't remember what the number was, but one year we did the aluminum recycling on that. Was astounding. And so aside from they separate that out, and aside from just the litter being picked up, they're also putting money back into recycling.
Very nice.
They do a great job.
What else is going on there in the old sheriff's office department?
Well, at 9 today, Under Sheriff Adams and Lieutenant Adams will be promoted to Under Sheriff officially, and then Lieutenant Drackaby will be promoted to Chief Deputy, and so we're moving them over today. And another interesting thing is, as we talked about, Under Sheriff being laid off on that circumstance, he spent his very last day as a law enforcement officer at his son's swearing in to law enforcement.
Wow.
So it's a great photograph Jim sent me from Arizona, where his son finished the Federal Law Enforcement Academy, and that was it.
How
one in, one out. They wore
Yeah.
uniforms the same day and called it good. So very, very interesting. I mean, today, I guess you've been doing this a while when you're promoting one of the people being promoted, Lieutenant Adams. I knew him a long time before he was law enforcement, and I was. And I worked with his stepmom, and I worked with his dad in law enforcement. When you start working with people's kids that you worked with years ago, and they're coming into the business, I've got 3 out of Thurston County their dads I worked with, and they're all 3 officers in other areas in Olympia and Aberdeen. It's getting kind of interesting. It's getting, the end is near at some point. But it's great to see those faces that you used to see as high school kids and things running around, and now they're taking over, and they're just.
I love that.
We're very fortunate.
Yeah.
I oftentimes, I don't know if we think about this in the county, but I always talk about education, training, and experience, and you need to have those. And I have a bulldog coming in from Gonzaga with Travis. He's got a master's in leadership from Gonzaga University, and I've got another Wildcat from Central Washington University with Jason Drackaby. And so a lot of great people went to Central. I mentioned that. A lot of great people are Wildcats. And it's thrilling to have people come in with not only the experience, but having that education in there. It's valuable to our county.
What are some of the main things that they will be asked to do now that they weren't asked to do beforehand? Well,
as you know, we're down 15 staff. And so each one of us have had to take on new things to do in the office, and other things, as you know, we've had to eliminate or not do as much of. And so each one of them are being asked not only to do a chief's job, but to take on a lieutenant's position as well that's no longer there. Which, I look around again, there's been a big controversy about how many staff we have, and we look at what the other agencies have, and when they have captains and lieutenants and majors and those kind of things, and we don't have any of those in between positions, and it just brings that all on more on those chiefs to handle each one of those areas.
I was up in Belfair this weekend on Saturday up at the hub doing some stuff, and then we drove by the satellite office up there. How's that working out?
Great. Did you go in?
I didn't go in because it was a Saturday. There were two cars there, and I almost went in.
You know, you've got to go way back in time on that one. I don't know that you were part of that. When I first came here, our cars were running from the South County all the way to the North County to do a report, and all the way back down to the South County because there was a little office space much smaller than in here, and the computers weren't right. And we worked very, very hard. And this is the key part with private citizens. We built some of the first private-public partnerships. And we worked our way out of that building with a family that actually paid for that. It wasn't the county. A family paid for that for the first number of years. We used a couple of their areas. And then when the hospital was built, or the care clinic was built, that was the end of our office there. And then we worked with another private party into the building that we're in now. That we knew. I mean, I say we knew. We theorized on good information that if we could keep deputies in the north end of the county, our crime rate would go down. If we had an adequate number of deputies and we could keep them up there, and it did. Significantly, and it makes for a much better service for our whole county when we have a balanced number at both ends of the county. And so it's been really nice to have that there. And again, that office, I was hoping you went in because, again, credit to our volunteers. I never get all their hours right, but they're even open on Saturdays. But that thing's been run by our volunteers up there ever since I started here. Wow. And that's not county employees. Those are volunteers that run that office 6 days a week up there. And so when we hear about how many staff we have, let's remember that if we didn't have those volunteers, that office wouldn't be open.
A lot of people think every time we go by or we show people and they go, there's the sheriff's office. Right. And they find it interesting that it shares a parking lot with a brewery.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no real.
Do you know what? They came in after us, but I'll tell you about that spot. With the family that owns that, a number of those buildings, in 2007, 2008, they were pretty empty.
Yeah.
And that was occupied. Both halves of that were occupied by another business that we're in, and they left the area. And a couple of those were empty, and we went in, and that family was so kind to us to give us a small area up there just so we had something. And then as they saw what we were doing, they now the county does pay for that, but they gave us a super deal to move into the whole thing, which expanded that out to a full-size area that we could work out of rather than just a desk with a computer. And now we have a nice place up there, and what a wonderful it was for them. And then for a while, I think there was a pet store in there, and there's some other things. But I think they like having us there, actually.
I think they do, too.
I bet they do.
Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Good to see you.